But the Energy and Commerce Committee is the best committee because of everything that we touch and do. So it's been a privilege of mine. This is my 10th term in Congress, my 15th year on the committee. And we're doing so much work. But I'd like to just concentrate a little bit tonight on the two subjects. One would be on the energy side and the other on autonomous vehicles. On the energy side, you know, we've had multiple hearings since the beginning of this Congress. And it was about a month and a half ago, I believe, we had the RTOs and the ISOs in, and ERCOT came in. The same question I've asked everybody since in the last 4 years. Do we have to have more energy in this country or less? And everybody has said the same thing. We have to have more energy. Now, it's kind of interesting in this hearing because the RTOs and the ISOs also said this. Not only do we have to have more energy, we can't be taking anything off generation right now. We got to keep all generation going. Because when you look at the numbers out there, that they're talking about taking off 100 gigawatts of power in the very near future. At the exact same time, we're supposed to be adding on 150 gigawatts just to make it where we're supposed to be. So just power alone is just absolutely essential. Second part of it is we have to, you know, you're talking about energy production, you also have to be talking about what we're going to do about permitting. Because if you, even if you can get the energy up, well, we have a problem. If you can't get it where it needs to be, well, massive issue. So from the production of the energy to the transmission to the distribution, we have this whole chain there that we got to get corrected. And so we want to get this done in this Congress, and it's a shared jurisdiction with Bruce Westerman's Natural Resources Committee. We're working with Bruce right now, so we want to get this piece of legislation done because it's absolutely essential. Because if we don't get out there and have more baseload capacity out there, we're not going to be able to get this done. And what's really driving it right now, if you look over the last several years, on a flat line, we were pretty much on electrical usage. But what's really changed it was our data centers. And when you look at the data centers, we were being told that, oh, they'd probably be using about 4.5% to 6% more of the energy out there. But we're looking at probably maybe up to 10% this year alone. So when you just look at that alone on these data centers, and you know, it's not that they only have the one source of power, they've got to have two backups. So it's a massive amount of energy that has to be produced for those centers. Because again, right now we're leading the world, and I want to make sure we keep leading the world. Because when we're talking about data centers and AI, there is no second place in this game. You got to win it. So you know, we're looking at what we did years ago in 2008 when we came up. We called our all of the above energy strategy. So you know, you go across the entire gamut out there, what's there. But the one thing we always said then, and I still say it today, we're not picking winners and losers. It's, you know, whatever the market has out there that it needs. When you think about different things out there that have occurred over just the last 25, 30, 35 years, you know, there's two things that I never thought I'd see in my lifetime. Number one, I never thought I'd see the Berlin Wall come down. Number two, we're talking about bringing 3 Mile Island back online. Nobody, you know, you said that 10 years ago, 5 years ago, you've been laughed at. But this is how, you know, but we need to bring these on, and also Palisades up in Michigan, to bring that back online. And just real briefly, you know, again, we're talking about everything out there when it comes to energy. We're not picking the winners, we're not picking the losers. Nuclear is going to play a massive role in this. Not only our large stations, but also when we're thinking about small modular reactors. Because again, you can put those behind the meter, and a lot of these companies really want to have this behind the meter. So it's looking at everything we can do out there for energy, and I'm not going to list every one of them, but we've got to use every one. Because you talked about the transmission companies, and they're saying, what they're saying is we just got to get the energy right now into the lines to get it where it needs to be. Just real briefly, autonomous vehicles, you know, we started working on this about 3 or 4 Congresses ago. You know, we had it done in the House. We had a good piece of legislation. Because again, what we talked about, we're still talking about is this. These vehicles have to be as safe or safer than anything else that are on the road today. We want to make sure that the United States leads in the technology. We want to make sure that, you know, on the cybersecurity side, we want to make sure that the people, you know, when you think about 94% of the accidents out there occur because of driver error. When you think about that, you had 43,000 people die on the roads just a couple of years ago, we can make sure that the seniors, we can make sure that people with disabilities have the ability to get out again because of the vehicles. But we're going to get there. And I've said, before I die, I will get that bill across the finish line and sign into law. But I appreciate the ability to be here tonight and look forward to your questions.
Well, thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm very happy to be here, and very happy to be on your subcommittee and Energy and Commerce. Of course, I follow Greg Walden here, so he's let me know many times the 640 round trips he took from Oregon here. And so I realized kind of what I was getting into when I decided to run for his position. I'm extremely happy to be on Energy and Commerce. When I first got here, I was put on Judiciary and Natural Resources. Congressman Westerman immediately made me ranking on the Water Sub and then made me chair of the Water Sub when we took over. It was great fun being chair, but I realized last year that if I was going to get on Energy and Commerce, I would have to relinquish that chairmanship, even though Chairman Westerman had offered it to me again. So Harriet Hegman is doing a wonderful job, and I'm very happy for the trade. I did stay on the Water Sub, and so I did so because I saw the synergy that would exist between our two committees. I would just say, in my background of 12 years in the Oregon Legislature, I was on water all those years, but I also got on energy, and because I realized that the future in many respects was going to be in that space. And so I'm very happy to be involved in these conversations and this battle that we have. While I was chair of the Water Sub, I held a hearing up in Kennewick to try to head off the removal of the 4 lower Snake River dams, 1,000 megawatts, but 3,000 late. And so I realized exactly what the Chairman just said, that we could not give away this kind of balancing power in that case. So I'm familiar with those kinds of battles, and I look forward to more of them. I would just say that today I sent a letter to Director Harrison of Bonneville Power, suggesting that we needed to allow private parties to build infrastructure, because I think BPA is now about 7 years behind, and that is not going to work. And we have to move much more rapidly, particularly where there are so many megawatts of power ready to go, but can't get through the approach that Bonneville has been taking. So again, I'm on the right committee or committees. I'm very happy to be here tonight, happy to take your questions.
Just, you talked about permitting reform, Congressman Latta. Wanted to see what you think the prospects are of getting that through this Congress, especially after we cross the reconciliation finish line.
Well, it's absolutely essential, and I think we all understand that. You know, I just was at a telecom meeting at noon, and we were talking about permitting there. It's got to get done. Because, you know, what good is it to be able to be the #1 in the world in natural gas production, or be able to outproduce Russia or Saudi Arabia in oil production on any given day if we can't move from point A to point B? So we have got to get this done, because this, you know, I saw at this one meeting I was at, that, you know, you're looking at some of these permits dragging out, or just trying to get the permitting done. It took 15, 17, 19 years. And here's the, you know, the question always comes up: how do you calculate the cost that you're going to incur? But, you know, it's also making sure that we don't have, you know, these lawsuits filed at the 11th hour and 59 minutes to try to stop it once again. So, you know, we're serious to get this done this Congress, and I'm dead set that we're going to get it done. It has. There's no alternative, because if we let you know, if you always start over at zero every Congress, we're never going backwards. We're never moving forward. But we have got to get this done, because, again, we have the great possibilities of what we can do out there, not only in this country but around the world. You know, LNG exports. When I've spoken at different conferences, and you have a lot of folks from Eastern and Central Europe at these conferences, they all say the same thing. We do not want to buy Russian gas. We want to buy yours. And so we can do so much not only for this country, but for all of our friends and partners around the world. So we got to get it done.
Gentlemen, our evening has come to an end, but I couldn't let you go without asking this question, and that is this. With everything that is going on here in the bubble of Washington, D.C., what is the reaction to people, not only in Bowling Green, but in Findlay, Ohio, where I went a lot over my 26 years with Mike Oxley and out in the great state of Oregon. What are people saying about everything that we're doing here and everything that is going on?
Well, just real briefly, I can tell you this: they want us to get a job done. You know, they say they don't want to hear it on TV. They just want to see action done. They want to see something concrete into the future. And because people, you know, people do. They worry about their jobs. They worry about their children, and they want to make sure that we're moving forward. And I think that that's probably the driver right there that I see and hear from people. That they want a government that works, not one that all of a sudden it's always like dysfunction. Or, you know, I mean, dysfunction in a lot of departments and agencies. That's our job. You know what you did for all those years, all those constituent problems, and that I sign every constituent letter every weekend when I'm at home. I go through every one of those letters and I look at all the problems that the people are having. It's just like, make this thing work and make it work for us.
Cliff?
Yeah, so, well, thanks for the question. I would say that the Metascare tactics that are being used by the two, I'm the only Republican in the 8-member delegation, and so many of the others are on the Democrat side are busy scaring people over the big bill and the Medicaid, in which they quickly try to draw Medicare into. So that's very sad. So we get to hear a lot about that. Tariffs are a great big deal in many spaces, and we hear a lot about that. For the most part, there's a huge support for the tax bill. Huge. You don't hear as much about it as I would like, but there's no doubt that people believe that if we don't get that tax bill passed, there will be a recession. So those are the three main things I think.